Good day, fellow rockers and moshers. Welcome to the Metal Connection, the connection to all things metal. I'm J-Dub, and today I'm just going to do a collection update of things that I got here in middle of October. I live in a kind of a remote location, and I have to pretty much order everything. So this is probably stuff that I ordered at the beginning of October and got somewhere in the middle half of October here and there. So I'm just gonna pile through some of this stuff here. I don't have too much. It's like I think 12 or 13, 14 albums or something. But yeah, I figured it'd be something cool to show here while I get the channel started here. All right. First up, we got Massacre here from France. Really kick-ass death metal band. They actually sound like they totally could have been right from the Florida death metal scene. Actually, well, Colin Richardson did mix this. They probably had one of their local guys that they know produced it, but then they probably sent it off to Colin Richardson there to master it. So you definitely know what you're getting yourself into. When I mentioned Colin Richardson, death metal, 1992. Again, they totally could have came out of the Florida death metal scene there, where, Obituary, Morbid Angel, Cannibal Corpse, all those kind of bands. So if you're into your early 90s death metal and you've never heard of these guys, this is definitely something you need to check out. Quality, top-notch death metal here. Now we got next here. Alright, cool. Malaya Rage. This is their third. Oh, no, not their third album. Actually, is it? Yeah, I think this is roughly their third album here, actually. I was just kind of stumbling because, well, it's 1996, and I was like, oh, well, I guess they only did two previous albums. But the Kilter Survive and Solitary Solitude, right? So here we are into 1996. Obviously, that thrash wave is a little gone, and but this is one of those albums where you originally hear it and you might hum and haw, but it's okay. But I found myself, the more I listen to it, the more you get adjusted to it, and it's actually a really great album, actually. So if this is something you kind of glossed over just for the fact it's in 1996, give it a couple spins and it'll definitely grow on you for sure. Next up, we got Ludacris here. Killer crossover thrash band, very frenetic, high energy, fun kind of crossover, fun, energetic type of thrash here. The main guy that was in this band, his name's slipping my mind here, but he went later on and started Scatterbrain, so that's probably something you might have heard of these guys, or Scatterbrain, or one of the two. But there's definitely a connection between those guys. But this is kind of before Scatterbrain took that little hard rock, goofy route, and they were a little more serious on this. There's definitely the hardcore thrash thing going on here. So if that's something you're into, definitely check that out. Next here we got Girl School. This is actually going back and gonna be their 6th album, even though it's 1988. So Girl School was pumping out albums in the 80s. Bam, 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 basically year after year, because if this is their 6th album and we're only into 88, so they were very active here in the 80s. Their first album, Demolition, 1980-81. So the fact that they are from Britain and that kind of area. This is definitely an early new wave of British heavy metal band. By the time they progressed into the later 80s, 88 here, things were moving in more of a big arena rock sound, right? And I think Girl School kind of benefited a little bit from that kind of big arena rock sound. I definitely enjoyed this album. It's one of their heavier albums mixed in with that big arena rock sound. So there's definitely a cool sound and things going on with that. Definitely check it out. If you're not familiar, this is like a female-fronted type band. So definitely check that out. Really cool cover too. Actually, and to keep her going with the female-fronted bands. Just one look at this cover and you think, this is a pretty awful cover, and yeah, it is. This is totally something where maybe back in the day someone was rummaging through the CD store, maybe the reduced pile or something, and be like, what is this? The logo sucks, the cover sucks, so this is something maybe not a lot of people checked out just based on those kind of things, but into some further investigation, this is a Brazilian thrash band fronted, there's a couple females in the group. I believe the male was a drummer or something like that, but female fronted Brazilian thrash band. I believe this is 1990, and at that point they're kind of, they're experimenting with a bit of progressive thrash. There's definitely some experimental progressive thrash things going on here, but for the most part this is a thrash album with some of those progressive things going on there. So definitely check this out. This is super obscure. Not a lot of people even heard of this. They did have I think they had 1 or 2 albums, right? Very obscure, Brazilian. Check it out. Oh, cool. I'm going to assume most people are familiar with this band, Razor. Oh, I'm covering the title here. Razor. So this is actually a brand new, fresh 2021 reissue that I happened to get on a pretty good deal, and I didn't have Malicious Intent before, so it was a good opportunity for me to pick it up here. And yeah, brand new smoking 2020 reissue. You got the box cover here. Some people toss these box covers, some people keep them. At this point, I'd probably just keep it just to keep the jewel case perfect, right? So, at that point, this is one of the best speed thrash bands out of Canada. Again, I'm going to assume a lot of you have heard of Razor, obviously, and you already know that this is one of the top bands. I just wanted to bring this to light. The fact that they are doing a bunch of brand new reissues on them right now, so if you don't have it, it's probably, and if you can find it, it's probably a good opportunity for you to get it. Oh, cool. A version here. I didn't forget where they're from, but anyway, we got a version here from 1990, and this is definitely a thrash album. I'm gonna say it's definitely a crossover thrash album, only because it's thrash, the music, but the vocals are more on the hardcore side. A bit of that core, scratchy kind of hardcore type of vocal, right? And it's actually kind of interesting. It kind of sounds a bit like James Hetfield. If James Hetfield, say, did hardcore music and he had a bit of a bit of aggression to his voice, a little bit, like Crumbsuckers or something like that, Accused, right? Kind of taking a little bit of Accused, mixing with, thrash. So it's definitely worthy checking out. If you can track her down, definitely get it. They did have a couple albums after. The album after is actually pretty decent, and then the album after, moving into the middle half of the 90s there, it's probably leaning more punk hardcore, but this first album was definitely thrash. Definitely check it out. Oh, cool. We got another kind of crossover thrash band, Dead Spot here. This is their second album, and I actually find the second album to be much more pure thrash, as opposed to the first album was kind of a crossover, hardcore, thrash sort of thing, that whole kind of deal. But then as they progressed in the second album, I think they just went a little more all-out thrash. This is definitely an album to check out if you're not familiar with it. This kind of is floating around on the interwebs and things like that for possibly cheap. If you are able to track this down for a good price, definitely pick this up as people maybe discover this band more. It might be harder to get in the future, so I definitely recommend picking this up if you can get it. And then also do check out their first album there, Adios Dude. Actually it's kind of too bad that this band didn't make more, because both albums were great. So it seems like they had plenty of ideas and things like that. So Who knows what happened? And well, obviously a lot of bands took their turn here in the 90s and kind of plooshed and went away. So definitely these albums are worth checking out. 1991. Oh, all right, Acid Rain from the UK. They're more of a fun thrash band. They're not super dead serious. All the songs are really long and take a bit of a progressive, no, not progressive really, but it's more of a super long, technical thrashers. Yeah, I think a lot of the songs are kind of mid-tempo. Oh yeah, you guys are probably seeing the green case here. It was just an extra green case that I've been trying to use, and when I seen this, they got a pink cover. It's actually a pink cover here, right? But I kind of thought it was cool to dull the pink a bit and, you know, do some color changing here. Woo. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Just a pretty consistent mid-tempo, fun thrash. You know, again, they don't take themselves too seriously. If you are looking for more of a serious, toned thrash, you know, definitely skip this for later, sort of thing, until you maybe want to, you know, they like this, like the title says here, a little more obnoxious, goofy sort of stuff here. So, okay, great. Yeah, British band. This is 1990. Pick it up. Oh yeah, cool little stuff here. This is a Sudden Impact from 1986. Pretty well straight hardcore band. There is a bit of crossover influence, you know, so there's going to be a bit of that crossover thrashing going on. But I'd say for the most part, this is more of a pure hardcore, punk hardcore band. Very fast, aggressive. Yeah, just very fast, aggressive, frenetic band. A lot of the songs are just full out, you know, like old, good quality hardcore. Fast, aggressive, great tones, good vibes. Yeah, definitely good stuff from Canada. Check it out. Next here we got Mega Ace's second album from 1999, I believe this one was. Their first album is better, I will admit. The first one's pretty hard to track down. If you can get the first one, definitely get the first one over the second one. Again, that first one is very difficult to nail down. I'm not able to really get it at a decent price right now, so I've had to resort to getting their second album because yeah, I definitely needed to own something from Mega Ace. The singer here, Melanie Bach, she kind of switches back and forth between these crazy psychotic screams and more of a softer vocal, but she kind of goes back and forth between 1 second she's kind of singing and then she'll switch over to this psychotic kind of screaming, very cool progressive thrash band. And I just wrote down a couple notes here. What did I say? Yeah, just Melanie Bach, who parts the screen, but yeah, I definitely would say the first album is better in terms of, you know, it's a little older, 1991. They're probably doing a little more of a harder thrash at that point. And then as we move into the 90s here, 1999. Again, I'm not sure why there was an 8-year gap in between the two albums, 91 and 99. 8-year gap in the album, so I'm not really sure what was going on there, but it's cool that they did put out a second album. And you know, the first album she is doing more of those psychotic screams, and maybe the second album is more progressive and things like that, but she definitely still busts out those psychotic screams that she was known for on the first album. So definitely this is a band to check out. Very top level band, and yeah, cool, check that out. We got a pretty obscure band from France, the Oddmongers. I actually couldn't even find a full preview of it on YouTube. You know, there were some songs, but the full thing wasn't available. So this is one of those things where I kind of just took a full-on chance on it. I've only, since I did just kind of get this, I've only spun it a few times, 2 or 3 times. It's actually what I'm playing in the background right now. I've kind of been meaning to stop in between every album and kind of make you guys check it out. But, you know, obviously we're into the mid-90s here. Bands were experimenting with progression and technical things like that, a little bit longer songs. So this is definitely where that band falls into that category, into that progressive thrashing. We're actually just kind of listening to a bit of a progressive part right now here. But it's definitely a pretty quality thrash band from France, very obscure. I'm trying to track down their first album, Experiment, I believe it was called. So I hope to get that in here soon. Again, that's actually another album where I actually have never heard it in full, because you can't even find it in full until you just get the CD. So I'm looking forward to tracking that down pretty soon here, or one day, and then I'll have the full album and I'll be able to you know, make my own judgments or whatever on it. But definitely really cool, interesting band. Yeah, it's they're pretty obscure. I've never heard of it until I found it, of course, but I've never heard anyone talk about it or bring it up ever in any kind of groups or discussions or anything like that, Facebook groups. I've never seen it posted or anyone having it. So yeah, if you're into that more, if you are interested in mid-90s progressive thrash, check it out. Now we got Warpath here from Germany. This is 1996. It kind of falls more into, well, it's actually kind of a mix of hardcore, thrash, groove. You know, there's obviously, we're moving in the 90s. A lot of bands were into that groovy, you know, Pantera sort of thing. But again, I wouldn't want to label that at all. I'm just kind of getting across that, you know, there's kind of more of that groovy thing going on, hardcore groove. But the cool thing about these guys is that it's more of like a death metal-y type vocal on these guys. So, you know, it definitely is something that might appeal to a lot of people. If you're not familiar, if you don't take chances on kind of the mid-90s scene or what was going on. But it's definitely cool. Again, you know, since they are kind of adding that death metal vocal, and you know, I mentioned kind of a hardcore thrash groove mix of all three, and that actually kind of it's very. I'd say if you're a fan of Entombed's Wolverine, you know, Entombed's 1993 Wolverine album, this would be probably something up your alley, for sure. Yeah, pretty cool band. I actually have another album of theirs on the way, and well, I believe this was their third album, so I actually have one of the earlier ones coming, and it's much more aggressive, but this is still a quality album that I'll jam from time to time. And that's actually pretty well it. I didn't want to do a super huge long video. I know I'm doing these group discussions. I'm kind of more focused on that. But, you know, I know a lot of channels and things like that are doing, you know, collection updates. And I still think that's definitely a cool thing that I will be doing. I'll try not to keep them super long, but if some of them go too long, that's fine too. Again, if you guys might see the group videos that we're doing here, are, you know, 1, 2, 2.5 hours sort of thing. So if you're looking for the longer videos, check out the group discussions. If you just want to see some obscure buys and gems that I'm buying and getting mailed in here from all sorts, from all over the world, check out these collection updates. I'll try not to put super mainstream stuff. Like, I'm not gonna show you, you know, Metallica, Slayer, and things like that. Nobody needs to see those on this collection updates. We've all seen that stuff, what you do. So I'll try to just keep it, you know, sort of for things to discover. Like, kind of when I watch a lot of these collection updates, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to discover something new. So again, I'm not going to bring you the bands you've already heard of. I'll try to bring some obscure stuff that you haven't heard of for the collection updates. So great, cool. Thanks for checking this out, and subscribe, mosh, and see you later.